about the real possibilities which can give one these abilities. Whenever an alien mind ought to be influenced, then there are some generally valid steps, which are set into motion by other extraterrestrial species. First and foremost, the alien oscillation must be felt, something generally that is done automatically by the brain, that is, the one the field oscillation, for the other the quasi-electrical brain waves here in the normal space, which matter inhabits. That is not especially difficult. After that, we must simply go over the other consciousness, that is where in the mind it can be interacted solid matter, as well as with mind remembers information, where the research can measure this that is generally discounted let read information from the first one and record the desired information to the second one in the correct locations. You asked me last time when you people have the opportunity to protect yourselves against this influence, and I told you that only an awake and concentrated mind had any kind of chance to withstand it. In this state of mind, the oscillations change very abruptly and access becomes complicated. More precisely, it can come with a painful recoil. Whenever you close or rise, then the field becomes flat, and alien access to the mind is immediately possible without restriction. In terms of your chances against the more highly developed species, who have none at all, they are able to adjust the oscillations faster than you can change. We grow up with this kind of knowledge. We know how one makes use of these powers, and where they come from. We are acquainted with theory and practice. You are not. Therefore, you really don't understand what happens in your world. You see only one side of existence, not the other. I mean, here, both metaphysical. Everything paranormal is dualistic, and it exists in a space that matter inhabits as well as in a sphere of influence, Feldram. To be explained. It can only be explained by the acceptance of the latter, because the sphere of influence, Feldram, is the basis. I would welcome an end to the scientific questions since you really aren't grasping them anyway. We're wasting more or less valuable time by doing this.
Restorative versus legal. Crime versus exhaustion of applicable remedy. Rent seeking versus wealth creating economics. Commercial versus self-governing. Traditional versus modern.
For many years, we have been like blind men touching different parts of an elephant, said Hugh, of ideologist Xiao Dong Song. Now, for the first time, we have a sense of the entire elephant, and see what the inner core of Earth really looks like. Using both newly acquired data and legacy data collected around the world, Song and postdoctoral research associate Xinlai Sun painstakingly probed the shape of Earth's core. The researchers report their findings in a paper accepted for publication in the journal Earth and Planetary Science Letters. Composed mainly of iron, Earth's core consists of a solid inner core about 2,400 kilometers in diameter and a fluid outer core about 7,000 kilometers in diameter. The inner core plays an important role in the geodynamo that generates Earth's magnetic field. The solid inner core is elastically anisotropic, that is, seismic waves of different speeds along different directions. The anisotropy has been found to change with hemisphere and with radius. In the latest work, Sun and Song describe another anomaly, a global structure, found within the inner core. To constrain the shape of the inner core anisotropy, we needed a uniform distribution of seismic waves traveling in all directions through the core, Sun said. Since the seismic waves we studied were generated by earthquakes, one challenge was acquiring enough seismic waves recorded at enough stations. In their analysis, Sun and Song used a three-dimensional tomography technique to invert the anisotropy of the inner core. They parameterized the anisotropy of the inner core in both radial and longitudinal directions. The researchers then used a three-dimensional ray tracing method to trace and retrace the seismic waves through the inner core iteratively. What they found was a distinct change in the inner core anisotropy, clearly marking the presence of an inner core with a diameter of about 1,180 kilometers, slightly less than half the diameter of the inner core. The layering of the core is interpreted as different texturing, or crystalline phase, of iron in the inner core. The researchers say, our results suggest the outer inner core is composed of iron crystals of a single phase with different degrees of preferred alignment along Earth's spin axis, Sun said.
Sphere. And in that sphere, actually there is a banding. So that the top and the bottom have a linkage, right? Just like the circumference of a circle. 360 degrees and 180 on the bottom represents one concentric circle or ring. Then when you go in, you get the inner chakras. And so from thinking that way, then I could see, okay, they fit very well.
Now do that
and actually, in the understanding of the chakras, the significance of those bands, each pole of the band fits very well. So Ra says that the seventh chakra is basically our infinite nature, or the access to infinity, complete enlightenment, Buddha, and intelligent infinity, before intelligent energy. So really, the summit, complete and perfect, or Satchitananda. And that's beyond personal consciousness. The first chakra is basically our anchoring to the physical body and material plane. And that's before consciousness. Chakras that are worked upon by the healer in self-healing, in personal spiritual transformation, are simply the middle five. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Have to work on root chakra, but of course if you do, various spiritual exercise like Tai Chi or Qigong or yoga, dervish dancing, or many things, the root chakra may
French call that chicken checker.
The seventh chakra
you know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is?
Working on either.
Oh, you're so lucky.
What's in the middle?
Definitely.
I'm a pussy. I'm a baby. Yeah, we're the pussies. I know, right?
Woo! I've taken pictures of somebody paralyzing themselves. I don't want to have to do it today, but I will if I have to.
There we go. I don't want to go down while we're watching.
They're like,
We don't need to just remind you that you can't control the dog. I control the uncontrollable.
That's Tessa.
I am controlling you. Do not try to control the director. The director controls
My
all.
body fails me and like she's these seizures and they're
Fashion brings in fashion.
Oh my god.
Behind your hard exterior, there are some frayed edges. Not you. This is you talking. I'm your voice. Okay?
Is her name Tesla?
We're talking to the world right now.
She's part
Isn't that what we're doing?
Japanese and part
Yeah, that's what a movie is, huh? We talk to all time. We trespass time, and we rule over you.
blood imagery.
Only you can draw from the symbol what it means. But the Christmas tree is the tree of life. And you dinosaurs are at the bottom. And we must be at the top. That was good. Yay, that was great. I think we got it. It's a wrap. And point that at me and have a really mean face on you.
Pages of the transcript. Answer, yes. I am thoroughly surprised at the many comments to my words. Of course, I am naturally also disappointed by the religious portrayals of me of the enemy which have been built and which have buried themselves deeply in your mind. You should learn to set yourself apart from the old conditioning and not to stand firmly under the control of something or someone who has already been gone 5,000 years. You are, after all, free spirits. Those are my final words. Which kinds of paranormal activities can one generate with that? Answer, all kinds. Everything that you call paranormal. As I said, this special layer lies in sphere of influence, background, between the morphogenetic information layers and matter layers that can interact with respect to both sides. That is to say, it can be interacted with solid matter as well as with mind or mental information, where we can achieve everything that is generally designated as telekinesis and telepathy. Connection absorption when under consciousness. Awareness is generally separate in the procedure from the simple influence of matter. Since
Stay up there.
Prison harem even the Sultan could envy. I would show.
Parfois, le vice, c'est juste moi. Tellement prévisible.
Is that English?
Fiscal year 1999, 2.3 trillion missing. Fiscal year 2000, 1.1 trillion missing. And DOD is the #1 reason why the...
Reason why the government can't balance its checkbook.
More. Give me face. Body face. Edgy face. Give me face. You can see. Wow.
David's contribution to the with this decapitation guy.
Come to measure your soul. She wants to see how much sins you have weighing on your heart. Too many sins. Too many sins to make. Oh, Joe, that's good. All right, now mumbling time.
Because people are still hungry. What's at the dead center of the picture?
Because he knew not the light of God's law.
Abraham, be the glory of my son.
The weak were made to serve the strong.
Bourgeoisie. Arms stretch, bodies. The meeting together without the king's permission. It's a picture filled with noise, the roar of the oath.
We are all dead. One man. To prove
The crash of a great electrical storm.
stand alone. The revolution against
An unstoppable force of nature.
against an empire.
Message of unity and freedom. And at the center of it all, as you can see, instead of arms outstretched, it's filled with light. There was an epidemic of finger pointing. It's not empty at all. Furious energy of liberty. Except an idea so big it dwarfs the humans who enact it. It was never finished. Before David, many of them would be dead.
In 2005, when Representative Cynthia McKinney grilled Donald Rumsfeld during the House hearings on the 2006 budget for the U.S. Department of Defense. Let's listen to McKinney as she questions Rumsfeld on the missing trillions and hear Rumsfeld's pathetic response.
Plague vaccine through the Joint Vaccine Acquisition Program. Mrs. Secretary, is it policy of the U.S. government to reward companies that traffic in women and little girls? That's my first question. Mrs. Secretary, is it policy of the U.S. government to reward companies that traffic in women and little girls? That's my first question. My second question, Mr. Secretary, according to the Comptroller General of the United States, there are serious financial management problems at the Pentagon, to which Mr. Cooper alluded.
I thank the gentleman, the gentlelady from Georgia, Ms. McKinney.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I watched President Bush deliver a moving speech at the United Nations in September 2003, in which he mentioned the crisis of the sex trade. The president called for the punishment of those involved in this horrible business. But at the very moment of that speech, DynCorp was exposed for having been involved in the buying and selling of young women and children. While all of this was going on, DynCorp kept the Pentagon contract to administer the smallpox and anthrax vaccines and is now working on a plague vaccine through the Joint Vaccine Acquisition Program. Year after year, that the reason it can't account for the money is because its computers don't communicate with each other. My second question, Mr. Secretary, is who has the contracts today to make those systems communicate with each other? How long have they had those contracts? And how much have the taxpayers paid for them? Finally, Mr. Secretary, after the last hearing, I thought that my office was promised a written response to my question regarding the 4 war games on September 11th. I have not yet received that response, but would like for you to respond to the questions that I've put to you today. And then I do expect the written response to my previous question, hopefully by the end of the day.
Thank you, Representative.
Perception man is an animal, judging you. No more heroes anymore, but better things. Dignity. Sailing a ship of madness. Through an ocean of light, dark waters burst, but inside there is a laughter that knows. With flowers to memory, beautiful procession. As before, camouflage went underground. As reality won a stage, mental collapse, a touring of heritage. Illusions had attitude. Doctoring the plug of indifference out of nowhere, sweet wine.
Today, and then I do expect the written response to my previous question, hopefully by the end of the week.
Thank you, Representative. The answer to your first question is no, absolutely not. The policy of the United States government is clear, unambiguous, and opposed to the activities that you described. The second question.
Well, how do you explain the fact that DynCorp and its successor companies have received and continue to receive government contracts?
I would have to go and find the facts, but there are laws and rules and regulations with respect to government contracts, and there are times that corporations do things they should not do, in which case they tend to be suspended for some period. There are times then that under the laws and the rules and regulations that passed by the Congress and implemented by the executive branch, that corporations can get off of out of the penalty box, if you will, and be permitted to engage in contracts with the government. They're not generally not barred in perpetuity.
This company was never in the penalty box. If you could proceed to my second question.
The second question. I've forgotten what the second question was.
I think Ms. Jonas knows it.
Okay.
This is also an example of business regarding the question of good and evil. You people play with unknown forces and thereby accept the death of colleagues of your own kind. They are dying for a greater cause, namely, for the advancement of your technology, which as a result is being put into place once again for the purpose of war, that is, for negative pursuits. Now, one can give you the benefit of the doubt that only the least number of your kind have any knowledge about these alien projects, which are, as you explain it, top secret. It was told to you that the higher the ordinal or random number of basic matter, the simpler the heightening of the condition, but that is only partially correct. If you can't circumvent these powers, then you're better off not attempting it. The illusion of matter is huge. Fields in the sphere of influence overlap each other, but the main force never affected by that process and would assume it was of their full character. The resulting connection and the field would therefore not be stable in the normal condition and refer to unstable tasks. As a result, the entire field spectrum is shifted to a higher phase of light condition, whereby the spectrum comes together with this harsh shifting to the opposite pole side. The word is not correct. Of the force field, and it resembles quite closely a gravitational shift.
So
this shifting
right the way
causes
to
a
the
tilting of
right.
a repulsing quasi-bipolar force,
Irreverent,
which now no
the
longer
way that
flows
the
to the interior
subject
of the force
itself
field, but rather flows partly to the exterior of the field. The result is an hyper-stratifying reflective force field which is very difficult to modulate within certain technical boundaries in relation to its own characteristics. Separate yourself mentally from the illusion that which you see is the true nature of the universe. It is, at best, the surface of a science. Imagine for yourself that all the matter here, you, this table, this pencil, this technical device, this paper, does not really exist, but that it is rather only the result of a field oscillation and a concentration of energy. All matter that you see, every creature, every planet and star in this universe, has an information energy equivalent in the sphere of influence which is located on the main field, general level of things. Now, there is not only one level, but several. Last time, I had mentioned a highly developed species which is capable of changing levels, which is something completely different from the simple
I am
changing
woman. I'll
levels.
smuggle that order in my pussy. Next time I'm crossing to the other side. I am woman, besides being afraid of what is inside my pussy. God demands you shall also
And
see
intellectual
what is not.
I would never be loved, because I would never be happy, never be good to people. If I didn't become that hard, but there was a wall in my way, an intellectual laser shade.
So I have no doubt that they just like the taste. Now they're staring at God to prove that they
It's gonna bring down the Wall Streets and the wallets and the border kids.
inside me.
When I was 19,
A baby.
and I had fought my way out of incarceration, and learned the art of optics, and was introduced to a world-renowned painter who told me I was a genius. To the limit. I knew I still needed to tear down something.
Will you believe in God after meeting a true devil?
That was still in my way.
Well, that is just Reagan telling you I'm an angel.
When I realized economics has no value for a living human soul.
So shut up. Stay tuned. From the other side.
That money and art were a paradox that seemed incomparable to the others existed.
Awareness fields. Now, this layer is not limited only to the
Thank you,
individual, but rather
Mr.
to the
King. I
general
appreciate the
information
question. I
layer.
appreciate your interest in our department's financial condition, and we are working very hard on that program. I've just come back recently.
I understand that you're working hard on it, but my question was, who has the contract? How long have they had that contract? And how much money have we spent on it?
In general, we spend about $20 billion in the Department on Information Technology Systems. The accounting systems are part of that. I can get you the exact number for the record of what we spend on our current, what we call legacy systems, and those that we're moving toward.
And who has the contract?
That would be a multitude of individuals.
Could you name some, please?
Well, I think off the top of my head, well, I would rather not. I'd rather provide that for the record.
That's not privileged information, is it?
Everything that you call
Well,
paranormal. As I
please.
Said, this special layer lies in
And we still have time, so please.
I would be glad to provide for the record. I don't want to talk from the top of my head and be incorrect.
On your first question, I'm advised by Dr. Chu that it was not the corporation that was engaged in the activities you characterized, but I'm told it was an employee of the corporation, and it was some years ago in the Balkans that took place.
It's my understanding that it continues to take place, and
is that right?
Yes.
Well, if you can give me information to that effect,
I'm sure you
we will.
are interested in all of the information that I have, and I'll be more than happy to provide it.
Good, thank you.
But I would also like to get information from you. For example, the information that I just requested about who has those contracts.
Let me.
Some of these abilities are also partially inherited. Mother and child of my kind as an example are attuned exactly during the first months of life, partially also in the egg covering in the expectant mother, and communicate telepathically. In order to influence you people, we need a certain amount of time for practicing, despite your simple structure. Therefore, it is forbidden, for example, for adults of my kind before the age of enlightenment to come to the surface of the earth. That term is synonymous, along with other things, with full physical strength. In the case of not fully developed abilities, the danger of discovery by you would be too great. By the way, there are of course numerous secret teachings about real possibilities which can give one these abilities. Whenever an alien mind ought to be influenced, then there are some generally valid steps, which are set into motion by other extraterrestrial species. First and foremost, the alien oscillation must be felt, something generally that is done automatically by the brain, that is, for the one the field oscillation, for the other the quasi-electrical brain waves here in the normal space, which matter inhabits. That is not especially difficult. After that, one simply probes for the other consciousness. Awareness in the mind with a post-plasma manifestation, the sphere of influence, Feldtraum, reacts and a connection is there. Now one can read out information from the first one and record the desired information to the second one in the correct location. You asked me last time whether you people have the opportunity to protect yourselves against this influence, and I told you that only an awake and concentrated mind had any kind of chance to withstand it. In this state of mind the oscillations change very abruptly and access becomes complicated. More precisely, it can come as a painful recoil. Whenever you close your eyes, then the field becomes flat, and alien access to the mind is immediately possible and without restriction. In terms of your chances against a more highly developed species, you have none at all. They are able to adjust the oscillations faster than you can change. We grow up with this kind of knowledge, we know how one makes use of these powers, and where they come from. We are acquainted with theory and practice. You are not. Therefore, you really don't understand what happens in your world. You see only one side of existence, not the other. I mean here both that are physical. Everything paranormal is dualistic, and it exists in a space that matter inhabits as well as in a sphere of influence, Feldtraum. To be explained. It can only be explained by the acceptance of the latter, because the sphere of influence, Feldtraum, is the basis. I would welcome an end to the scientific questions since you really aren't grasping them anyway. We're wasting more or less valuable time by doing this. Only one last question. At our first meeting in December, you made it quite clear that you didn't want to discuss scientific and paranormal concerns. Where the openness now? Answer. The last time I saw really no necessity in overburdening you with facts of that kind, and now you are obviously overburdened. Therefore, I had preferred only to mention these topics in a peripheral sense. Apparently, however, some of my performances today have set you to thinking about your world, something that can't be all bad. And by the way, your human scientists will tend to regard my comments as humbug. And so I see no great danger in spreading this information widely. No one will pay much attention to it. By the way, the words of people who have characterized me as a creature of evil have their basis in the belief in occult. Even the interval seems to be incorrect. The coloring is very dark and the interior optical distortion is very noticeable. Presumably a reconstruction of the original system by your scientists. Since the alien species has just not given you any more information since the disagreement, they are rebuilding the system single-handedly without actually being able to understand what kind of dangerous thing they are doing there. This construction does not make the system better, only more unstable. Both of the forward cylinders are too close to each other, they will definitely flow into each other. The color shows near powerful residual radiation. It was probably the case that high elements were used again as customary for the shifting. It is in any case very dangerous to be unshielded in the vicinity of the field. Actually, he was predestined for contact. He was open-minded, honest, intelligent, not religiously inclined or conditioned. He lived alone and isolated, and no one would believe him, should he decide to go public with his story. I dared to take the step, but then I had serious doubt about the propriety of my act, especially when he reacted very violently. He got control of himself again after a time and we could finally talk concretely about definite matters. Now he had no choice but to believe me. Can you describe your subterranean homeland location? Answer. I can attempt to do so, but I certainly will not tell you where this place is located. My homeland lies in one of our smaller underground settlements to the east of here. I'll give you some numbers so that you can make a better impression for yourself. Just a minute. I have to try to convert the measurements approximately into your units. It is a dome-shaped cavern at a distance of about 4,300 meters from the Earth's surface. The cavern was organized as a colony about 3,000 years ago. A major portion of the ceiling structure is artificially integrated into the rock and the form was remodeled into an almost elegantly proportioned and very flat dome with an oval ground plan. The diameter of the dome according to your measures is about 2.5 kilometers. The height of the dome at the highest point is about 220 meters. Underneath that highest point in every colony there stands a special whitish-grey cylindrical building, a kind of supporting column which holds the honeycomb net-carrying structure of the dome. This building is the tallest, largest and oldest in the entire dome, for it is always situated as the first construction together with the security of the ceiling. In the meantime, of course, there were times when it was completed and reconditioned. That building has a very special name and religious significance. We have only one of those columns. Larger colonies even have more columns according to the construction of the ceiling. One of the main colonies in Eurasia has as an example 9 of those kinds of supports, but the colony is also over 25 of your kilometers in size. The central building is generally a center of religion, but also a center for climate control, and a center for the behavior and the regulation of the lighting system. We have at our location altogether 5 large artificial light sources which generate your UV light and its warmth through gravitational sources. The air shafts and the light systems from the surface likewise run through these columns, and naturally, they are very intensely controlled. By the way, we have 3 air shafts and 2 elevator systems there, and even a tunnel connection to the next main colony which lies approximately 500 kilometers to the southeast. One elevator shaft leads to a cavern near the surface, the other leads to one of our depots for the ships. You remember, the cylindrical ships, that is naturally concealed closer to the surface behind a rocky mountain face. Normally, there are only 3 ships there. It's a small depot. The other buildings of the colony are, for the most part, concentrically ordered in oval circles around the main supporting column, and they are without exception much flatter, generally only between 3 and 20 meters tall. The shape of the buildings is round and dome-like. The color is even differentiated according to circle and distance from the main column. To the north of the column, there is an additional, very large but very flat round building. This building interrupts the concentric system of the colony with its diameter of about 250 meters. It is the artificial sun zone in which specially illuminated corridors and rooms are housed. In these locations very powerful UV light predominates, and they are used in order to warm our blood. There is even a medical dispensary and a meeting room located there. Beyond the outer ring of the colony, there are zones in which animals are kept. You know, we must consume flesh as nourishment, and the gardens in which plant nourishment and mushroom culture are cultivated. There is also hot and cold running water from subterranean sources. The power station is located on the edge of the colony. The station is driven by fusion as its face, and it supplies the colony and the sons with energy. My group or family lives, by the way, in the fourth ring of buildings out from the central support column. So much in such a short time. To describe to you all the buildings and their tasks would be going too far. It is difficult to describe something like that to you, but it is a completely different set of surroundings and culture from what you are accustomed to in your life on the surface. You really have to see it for yourself to be able to believe it. Question: will I myself see it sometime? Answer: who knows, maybe. Time brings new opportunities. Question: how many creatures of your kind live in this colony? Answer: approximately 900. Question: that is the end of the interview. Do you have any final message for the readers of the transcript? Answer: yes. I am thoroughly surprised at the many comments to my words. Of course, I am naturally also disappointed about the religious portrayals of me as the enemy which have been voiced and which have buried themselves deeply in your mind. You should learn to set yourselves apart from the old conditioning and not to stand quasi under the control of something or someone who has already been gone for 5,000 years. You are, after all, free spirits. Those are my final words.
And building identity.
I love you.
Touching the light.
Too much.
Too much. You took too much.
I forgot that one had an empty.
Oh, look at Jacob's little anally retentive cookies. I'm gonna get sued by Nintendo. Furniture in there. Can't even sit down anymore. Oh, we got you decorating cookie. Ugly is great.
Geez.
Whoa, Gigi.
Look how much is left.
You guys.
Oh, you're drunk, girl. You're right.
Oh, girl, you're drunk.
God.
You're the one that's not sweet enough.
Oh my God.
You're very
sweet. Yo, the one is drunk.
You're drunk on power.
Shut up, God.
You're the one that's not sweet enough. I really hope so.
I'm drunk on sweetness.
High on sugar. There's Link. He's come to town.
And makes my love stare back with open arms. She bleeds every day, in which I collect in buckets, so I can inject it later on. Okay.
Oh, you could probably log in here.
There we go.
We can probably get you logged on the Wi-Fi here.
There's that's Tessa. Oh, here, I don't want to play over his music. It's just weird. She's like, my body fails me, and like she has these seizures, and she's like her crotch bleeding and stuff.
Oh my God. Wow. That's fine. What's her name? Tesla?
Tessa
Oh, okay.
Kiragi. She's part Japanese and part Jamaican. It's one of those, there's a lot of imagery, and she speaks in French the whole time. There's like subtitles. I love this kind of shit.
Regarde, tu vois?
Yeah, this is perfect for the fertility call.
Parfois, mon corps et mon esprit deviennent malveillants et refusent de me laisser dormir.
That's true.
C'est absurde. C'est absolument ridicule. C'est là, tu vois?
Okay.
Parfois mon corps me trahit. Parfois la vie c'est juste moi. Tellement prévisible.
Is that English?
Only with pity. And I thought you meant pity because he was so unabashed.